something like that. But look, I'm back. And yeah, so my wife and I, we had a glass of wine. We stood in the garden surveying everything that I'd done. And it was an amazing feeling getting my own septic tank in. And I don't know if on the other one I explained what that crossover there, my pipes were above Jim's. I don't know if I've already said that in the last video, but don't worry about that little crossover bit. But anyway, it was great. Yeah, I didn't have to pay 90 quid a week out anymore. And then another thing that was interesting was this. Jim, the next door neighbor, he came to me the next day and he said, can you put a septic tank in for me as well? I was like, no. He said, yeah, seriously, I want you to do what you did for yourself for me. Because I also forgot to mention, we couldn't sell our house, right? People came round to the house and it boiled down. As soon as they found out we had a septic tank, they're like, oh, okay. How much is it costing you to empty it every week? And we're like, 90 quid. What? 90 quid. And as soon as they found out it was 90 quid a week, they had to spend out. Boom, we couldn't see him for dust. So we couldn't sell a house. That's another reason why I was getting ill. But anyway, so I ordered all the stuff and then about 3 weeks later, I actually got paid for it. Jim paid me, right? I actually put a septic tank and soak away in for Jim. And he cut himself off too. And he had his own septic tank. He didn't have to pay 90 quid a week anymore. And then we sold up and moved, right? And funnily enough, Jim sold up a couple of months later and moved. And then Andy, right, he moved into this. He bought this house. Him and his wife bought this house, right, and turned it into one. He cut himself off from the lady there. And that was his septic tank. In fact, yeah. What he did was, looks like Spaghetti Junction now, but it did under the ground. But he then joined up and they all went into the one septic tank. So this lady, I don't really know her, so I don't want to be derogatory or insult her or anything like that. But you could never talk to her. You know, she was never amicable and, you know, there was no reasoning with her. And so she ended up paying 90 quid a week, and she still does. She's been paying 90 quid a week for the last 20 years, as far as I know. It's just madness, you know. I would have gladly put a septic tank in for her. And so that's the situation I found myself in. And so, yes, Barry, I've been in the situation where I've been connected to someone else's septic tank system, and it made me really, really ill. And that's how I got out of it. And that's how I got into the septic tank business 20 years ago to this day, well, probably 21 years ago now. So that's that situation and that scenario, and that's how to cut yourself off. So I'm just going to answer, bear with me a sec. Let me just answer another question now. So let me just give you some logistics as well. So let's just clear the playing field here. So these are questions people ask me if they're connected to someone else's system. All right, and they're regarding building regs and building control, stuff like that. Okay, there we go. If you're wondering why I use two classes, because one wipes it off, it's wet, and the other dries it, otherwise you can't draw properly on the board. So here's another situation. Let's give you another situation, right? Let me also, right, let's just delete these houses in the middle as well, just to simplify this for you, right? Just to keep this really simple. There we go. All right, so let's say you're connected to your neighbor's house. All right, so let's do this again. Let's make this nice and simple for you. So let's put the grass between the two properties. Let's just rebuild the foundation there. There we go. And let me take that off there and put a number 2 there. There we go. And then I'm going to put a nice fence. There you go, there's the fence. In fact, look, there's the boundary. So that's number 2's garden, that's number 1's garden, okay? So let's pretend number 1 has got the septic tank in their garden, okay? And then that goes to manhole chamber, and let's say that's their soak away there, okay? And you are connected to a septic tank. All right, so these are the rules and regulations regarding building regs. If you want to put your new septic tank, if you want to put a new septic tank in for yourself, and you've been connected to your neighbors, if you were connected to, I'll start again, it's been a long day. If your property was connected to the neighbor's septic tank before the 1st of Jan 2015, regardless whether you've lived there all the time, whether you're the 100th person that's lived in this house, if that connection from your property you're living in now, whether you've been there a week or 1,000 years, right? If that property was connected to that septic tank, your neighbour's septic tank, before the 1st of Jan 2015, you do not need planning permission or building controls approval. You can just get your own septic tank and soak away and put it in, okay? You do not need permission of anyone to do so. That's the law on the government website, and it's there under the general binding rules for everyone to see. Okay, so, and that's it. So if it's a new connection and the connection was after, say the house was built in 2016, these houses were built in 2017, 2018, then you'll need permission from building control, and you'll have to apply for permission to put a new septic tank and soak away in. So I hope that has answered your questions regarding how to cut yourself off from your neighbor's septic tank, because it can be neighbor wars. Because let's say you've got a neighbor in the septic tank. A neighbor in the septic tank? Did I really say that? Let's hope you haven't put your neighbor in the septic tank. No, if you've got neighbors and the septic tank's in their garden and you're connected to their tank and you fall out with them, it can be a nightmare, because they can put a new system in and they can charge you half, and you legally have to pay half. There's nothing you can do about it. You can resist it, but they'll just take you to court and the judge will put a judgment against you or your house, right? If they get it emptied 50 times a week, right, you still have to go halves with them and pay half their costs on everything. So if you're connected to someone else's system and you're not having problems, right, and you get on great with your neighbors, don't forget those neighbors could move one day. Maybe they could die and new neighbors will move in. Then you could have problems. But the point being is, even if you're connected to a neighboring system, I heartily recommend you put a new septic tank and soak away in, regardless how you get on with your neighbors. You've just got to do it. Trust me, it's one of the best investments you'll ever make in your life, because when you come to sell your house, that's when the problems start. Or when you fall out with your neighbors or new neighbors move in, that's when the problems will start. And, you know, as I said, one of the only solutions then is to put your own septic tank and soak away in. So I hope that's asked. I've tried to cover quite a few bases there. I hope that's answered your questions, I mean. Right, okay, so one more thing just to cover here. One more base just to cover, one more point just to cover. On the 1st of January, let me write this down. On the 1st of Jan, this is something for every septic tank owner to take notice of, right? Whether we like it or not, on the 1st of January 2019, the septic tank ban comes into force. Now, it's a horrible word. Yeah, I agree. It's a horrible, horrible, horrible word. So why is it called the septic tank ban? Because certain septic tanks that don't meet the new rules and regulations that the government have enforced and brought into play, if certain septic tanks don't meet up with those requirements or those standards, then the government is literally going to ban certain people from using their septic tanks. So if your tank smells, if it's leaking, if it's blocked, there's loads of other things on there which you can read for yourself on the government website under general binding rules. So what they'll do, they'll come around, they'll weigh up the situation, and they'll say, look, you've got to repair your septic tank or you've got to replace it. In the meantime, we're going to ban you from using it. That's why it's called the septic tank ban. They're strong words, right? It's making a lot of people angry, making a lot of people cross. But I want to show you one easy way in which you can make your septic tank fully compliant, right? And it won't cost you a penny. If you go, if you go anywhere, what you need, right, is a government compliance form. Now, a government compliance form is a form that can be found in Section H of the UK building regs. Every septic tank owner is not encouraged to have one, because not forced to have one. I'm trying to put it in a diplomatic word. Building regs states that every septic tank owner must have a government compliance form, right? It's compulsory. In reality, probably 99% of septic tank owners don't have one. And this is one of the reasons why I'm a consultant. Now, government compliance form is like a form, and they've basically put a lot of the words in there, and they've left certain sections blank. And this form is like a template in building regs. And in this form, basically, you've got to display one of these forms in your kitchen or your utility room, and you've got to hand one to your solicitor. And the form basically that you've got to fill out states what system you've got, how long you've had it, what maintenance you do to it, what capacity it is, what repair work you've had done to it, what maintenance you've carried out, and all these kind of things, right? And it has to be on display. And as I said, you also have to hand lodge a copy with your solicitor. So when the building inspectors come round, or the environmental agency, you can then show them this form, and it shows that you've been a responsible septic tank owner. They'll look at the form and they'll go, okay. Yep, okay. So they'll have a little look around your septic tank and you say, well, and they go, okay, yeah, no problems, cheers for that. And that's the government compliance form, right? When you come to sell your house, the solicitor representing the people buying your house will ask you for one of these. If you haven't got it, 9 times out of 10, they'll say, fine, our client will buy your house, but we want to reduce the price by the amount of what it's going to cost to put a new septic tank and soak in, because you don't know anything about your septic tank other than the receipts you've given us from the septic tank emptying firms. So we want to knock you down by 10, 13 grand, because that's the price we've been quoted. So this government compliance form, right? Well, if you get yourself one, it will make your septic tank fully compliant before these new rules and regulations come in on the 1st of Jan 2020. But not only that, it'll save you thousands and thousands of pounds when you come to sell your house. Now this is a service I normally charge 300 quid for, but this septic tank ban is so close now, I'm actually giving them away for free. If you go to septictank.co.uk, and on the top left-hand side of my website there, you'll see an image that says beat the septic tank ban. If you click that and you fill out a form there, you can print off as many copies of this government compliance form as you want. When you've printed them off, fill in the blanks, lodge one with your solicitor, put one on display in your utility room or your kitchen. And as I said, that's probably the best thing that you could do to make your septic tank compliant before the septic tank ban comes into force. Now, many people won't do this. Many people are like, oh, funny enough, since I've started telling people, I've been telling people for 2 years now, the septic tanks ban is coming into force. And they're like, shut up, you're talking a load of crap, go away. And that's fine, right? I'm just the messenger. The messenger usually ends up getting shot, because he's a bearer of bad news. But look, it doesn't have to be bad news. Most British or English, Welsh, Scottish people in the UK tend to leave things to the last minute. I know because, I'm a resident myself here, but it doesn't have to be that way, right? Don't take umbrage that these rules and regulations are coming into force. Look, all right, they're upsetting, they're stressing, they're making people anxious, but they're coming regardless of how we feel, of how much we want to resist. By going to septictank.co.uk, by downloading, right, the free government forms that I've put there, you can beat the septic tank ban for free. I don't want your card details. I don't want your money. I don't want anything off you. Just go to septictank.co.uk and download, please, these forms for free and make your septic tank legal and compliant. So there you go. Listen, that's my live broadcast for today. That's my tip of the day. Government compliance form. Go and get on now. They're free, right? And that's it. So listen, have a great evening. And I'm going to sign off now, and I'll do another live broadcast tomorrow.